Have you ever felt that the rules of work are changing faster than people can make sense of them? For too long, professionals and organizations have been taught to think of careers as straight lines, stable ladders, or carefully managed plans. Pascal Xavier challenges that myth. He has found that the future of careers belongs to those who can read disruption early, adapt deliberately, and keep creating value when the table changes. Pascal is an accomplished senior executive, author, consultant, and keynote speaker with over 30 years of cross-functional, cross-industry, and international experiences across Asia Pacific, the USA, and Australia. His career has spanned engineering, manufacturing, mining and infrastructure, astronomy and science, healthcare and community development, entertainment and hospitality, governance, risk, compliance, and consulting services. He has worked across private corporations, government, and not-for-profit sector, giving him a rare, practical view of how careers, businesses, and institutions respond when conditions shift. He is the author of The Future of Careers: How to Adapt and Thrive in a Disruptive Age, a strategic roadmap for building adaptability, resilience, and sustainable success in modern work. Pascal's passion is helping people and organizations move beyond fear of disruption and towards practical action. Through his frameworks and lived experience, he helps audiences understand where value is moving, what capabilities matter next, and how to position themselves for opportunity rather than simply react to change. Now serving as the Chief Risk Officer with a highly regulated environment, Pascal advises boards and C-suite leaders on governance, risk, and compliance. He has also delivered postgraduate courses at the University of Technology, Sydney, where he continues to serve as an honorary fellow and program advisory board member. He is a fellow of the Governance Institute of Australia. Will you please welcome to the stage Pascal Xavier?
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from the land down under. And for those of you joining from around the world, good morning or good evening. It's wonderful to be here. Before we begin, I want to say something simple but important. Thank you for being here. I know you have work to do, deadlines to meet, emails to write, and probably more open tabs in your mind than on your laptop. So the fact that you've made it here tells me something. It tells me that this topic matters. And it does. Because the question we're exploring today is not theoretical. It is not somewhere away in the Silicon Valley. It's not for technologists, futurists, or executives sitting in a strategy room. It is for you. The question is, how do we stay relevant in an AI disrupted world? Now, before we go any further, I notice people in the room. Some of you may be excited about artificial intelligence, or AI as it's called. You may already be experimenting with tools, testing prompts, automating tasks, wondering how far this can go. Show of hands, please, those who are doing this. Yeah. Some of you may be curious, but cautious. You are interested, but you are also asking, what does this mean for my role, my profession, my career? And some of you may be quietly concerned, not panicked necessarily, but concerned. You may be wondering whether the skills that got you here will get you there. All these reactions are valid. In fact, if we were completely relaxed about the pace of change, I'd be more worried. Because AI is not just another workplace tool. It is changing how work is done, how decisions are made, how knowledge is assessed, how value is created. But let me say this early. This session is not about scaring you. There are enough headlines telling us that jobs will disappear, industries will be reshaped, human beings will be replaced. Today, I want to make a more useful approach. Not fear, not hype, not denial. I want to take the approach of practical relevance. Now, for more than 2 centuries, disruption arrived in waves. The industrial age transformed manufacturing. The digital age transformed information. Each wave changed how we worked. But you see, most people had time to adapt. Careers were built over decades. Skills remain relevant for years. The rules of the game changed slowly enough for people to adjust. Today, many professionals feel something different. For a while, we've been taught that AI is simply the next technology trend, another tool to learn, or maybe another software platform to master. It isn't. AI is not just changing what we do, it is changing how value is created, expertise is developed, decisions are made, and ultimately and quite possibly how careers are built. The real disruption is not technological. The real disruption is human. Artificial intelligence, economic uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, workforce transformation, organizational restructuring, they're all happening at the same time. I call this concurrent disruption or concruption. Many professionals are responding by working harder, applying for more jobs, collecting more qualifications, hoping something sticks. Doom jobbing is a trend where anxious job seekers mass apply to positions with low energy, little focus, and no personalization. Now you can check this on Google, not now, a little later because I need your attention. And you'll find that it is indeed a valid phenomena. For too long, we've been taught that careers follow a ladder. Study hard, work hard, get promoted, repeat. That model was built for a world that was relatively stable and predictable. Today's world is neither stable nor predictable. Careers no longer move in straight lines. They move through opportunities, transitions, pivots, reinventions, and sometimes complete resets, as I found. These experiences led me to explore the research behind career adaptability and combine it with practical frameworks that people can use. The evidence is overwhelming, as I will illustrate in my following slides. Jobs are changing, skills are changing, industries are changing. The professionals who thrive over the next decade are not necessarily the most experienced or the most qualified. They will be the most adaptable. My own career has crossed industries, sectors, countries, technologies, and economic cycles. I've had to reinvent, reposition, and transfer skills repeatedly. What I learned is that career success is rarely about predicting the future. It's about positioning yourself to thrive regardless of what the future brings. Those who adapt early gain options. Those who wait often inherit fewer choices. What if the real advantage comes from understanding when to build capacity, when to leverage momentum, when to pivot, and when to reinvent? That question became the foundation of my research and eventually my book, The Future of Careers, which I'll introduce a little later in the webinar. The book discusses a career adaptability model built upon the well-established career construction theory and two of my own frameworks called STEPS and Pivot, which I will elaborate on later. First, let us review our global environment today. AI is accelerating everything. It is replacing tasks, shaping industries, redesigning roles, and compressing career timelines. All this amidst geopolitical instability, often changing markets, supply chains, employer priorities, economic volatility, which creates hiring freezes, restructures, cost cutting, trade sanctions, and global tensions that alter where work happens and which industries grow or shrink. Organizational disruption, meaning mergers, layoffs, restructures, pandemics, climate change events, personal life disruptions. And you all know we just had a pandemic just a few years ago. So this is real. Let's look at what activities AI is taking away. Administrative work. Now, this includes meeting, scheduling, travel arrangements, expense processing, analysis and research, like market research, competitive analysis, financial modeling, literature reviews. Many years ago, when I was a postgrad student, I had to go to the library to do research. Now it's all on our fingertips. Communication tasks, including drafting emails, proposal writing, writing meeting minutes. And boy, I used to write a whole lot of meeting minutes back in the day. Not anymore. AI does that. Technical tasks like coding, software testing, Excel formula writing. I no longer need to write formulas from one sheet to another. AI can do it. Now, if you think that the activities only apply to junior roles, and these are the only activities that are being taken away, think again. For middle management, operational oversight covers KPI monitoring, dashboard creation, workflow management. Decision support includes risk assessment, scenario analysis, capacity planning, and management activities, not limited to performance reviews, recruitment screening, workforce planning. And you know what? The truth is the situation is evolving. We are not certain as to the extent of workforce transformation. Now that we have seen the scale of disruption, the real question is, how do we progress in a world that no longer moves in straight lines? See, the corporate ladder made sense when organizations were more predictable, industries changed slowly, and career progression was mostly vertical. But today, the ladder is too linear, too rigid, and too fragile for the world that we are living in. This is why I advocate visualizing career moves not as climbing the ladder, but as an adaptive movement that requires navigation. You can still aspire to move up, only remove the linear thinking. There are various ways to the top. STEP stands for stairs, travelators, escalators, plane, and subway or train, a substitute for the ladder. Its purpose is to help you see your career more clearly, not as a ladder, but as a landscape. Pivot stands for people, insights, versatility, outreach, and transition execution. It's about turning clarity into movement, because insight without action is useless. And moving intentionally means making career decisions before circumstances make them for you. Now, at this stage, you're probably wondering, is there any evidence for all this disruption? That brings us to the next slide. On the top left-hand corner, notice that AI and AI processing sits at the top of the list of 86%. But what is equally important is that AI is not alone. Digital access expansion, cost of living pressures, climate transition, economic slowdown, and geopolitical fragmentation are all expected to have major impacts on organizations by the year 2030. A company may be dealing with AI adoption while simultaneously managing inflation, supply chain uncertainty, skill shortages. Now, when people hear about AI, they often focus on the 92 million jobs expected to be displaced. But notice the other number, 170 million new jobs are expected to be created. This is not primarily a story about job destruction. It's a story about job reconfiguration. The labor market is being reshaped, not simply reduced. Some roles will disappear, many will evolve, and entirely new roles will emerge. The most significant figure may be the 22% and the 39%. By the year 2030, almost 1 in 4 jobs will be transformed, and nearly 4 in 10 skills will either be obsolete or require substantial updating. Now, 40% of global employment is now exposed to AI in some form. In advanced economies, that figure rises to 60%. This means that AI is no longer confined to technology companies or specialist roles. It is becoming a mainstream workforce capability. What even more significant is that the estimate that 60 to 70% of employees' work activities have been automated potential. Notice that the data refers to activities, not jobs. As previously highlighted, AI is taking away activities, not whole roles. This is a crucial distinction. AI is not necessarily replacing entire occupations. It is increasingly performing parts of occupations. Now, behind every statistic is a person, a family, a mortgage, a career. While we often talk about disruption in economic terms, people experience it emotionally. According to Gallup, only 23% of workers describe themselves as engaged at work. What does this mean? It means that 3/4 of the workforce are disengaged. At the same time, 41% report experiencing daily stress. More than half of Gen Z and millennials are living paycheck to paycheck. And nearly 6 in 10 young workers say AI is already influencing the kinds of careers they pursue. Now, this is my career story, but for brevity, I won't walk you through every chapter of my career. Instead, I would like you to notice something very important. None of these moves happened by accident. Every transition was intentional. Some moves were upwards, some were sideways. One was even backwards when I migrated to Australia. Despite my qualification and international experience, I had no Australian referees, and I had to rebuild my credibility from the ground up. Along the way, I worked across different states, territories, industries, sectors, functions, leadership roles. I also deliberately accepted voluntary board appointments. because they helped me build capabilities, credibility, and networks beyond my day job. Every move had its purpose. Every move taught me something. Every move expanded my adaptability. That's why I say your path is not found, it is forged. Successful careers aren't built by waiting for the perfect opportunity. They are built by making deliberate decisions that prepare you for opportunities that come next. This is my new book that was released on the 8th of April 2026. The Future of Careers is not simply a collection of observations, opinions, personal stories. It was my attempt to answer the question that had been growing throughout my career. How do I create a practical way for people to visualize, evaluate, and execute career moves in an increasingly disruptive world? To answer that question, I turned to both research and lived experience. I wanted a framework that was evidence-based, practical, and applicable. Whether someone was seeking a promotion, changing functions, moving industries, or even relocating internationally. That led me to the work of Dr. Mark Savickas, one of the world's leading career development researchers and the creator of career construction theory. What attracted me to his work was that it shifted the conversation away from choosing a career toward adapting to a changing career. Based on career construction theory, Savickas and his colleagues later developed and validated the Career Adaptability Scale, or CAAS, across 13 countries spanning North America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and South America. So the worldwide exposure really appealed to me. The research demonstrated that career adaptability is not a personality trait that some people have and others don't. It is a set of capabilities that can be developed. Now, how great is that? That means you and I can develop. You and I can be adaptable. They identified 4 foundational resources. Concern, which is about preparing for the future. Control, which is about taking responsibility for decisions. Curiosity, which is about exploring possibilities. And confidence, which is about acting despite uncertainty. I saw these 4 elements as the psychological foundation for navigation disruption. Building on that foundation, I developed steps to visualize career movement and pivot as a practical framework for executing career transitions. Together, the CAS steps and pivot provide a complete system. They help people understand where they are, identify where they want to go, and develop the adaptability required to move successfully, whether that means changing roles, functions, changing industries, or making bold move across international borders, as I have done. So I would compare my book to a gym membership. Buy my book and you have access to a gym with all the weights and cardio equipment. But why stop there? Why only stop with the book when you can have me as your personal trainer, be accountable, and get guaranteed results? I've abbreviated the testimonies of my direct reports, so discourage you from, I guess, dwelling on the comments instead of focusing on what I'm about to say. I just want to summarize by saying for Abdul Aziz on the left, he had built most of his career in the United States before relocating to Australia, having worked extensively in both countries. I was able to help him understand the differences in workplace culture and communication styles, so he could settle in more quickly and succeed in this new environment. Deanna was moving from a private legal practice into compliance roles across government and the not-for-profit sector. That required more technical expertise. It meant learning how to operate in a completely different organizational culture, influence stakeholders during a significant transition. Now, Matthew, on the right, was looking to move from the not-for-profit sector into the financial services sector. So together we identified the certification he already possessed, clarified his strengths and personality, and reframed his experience so that he could confidently position himself for an entirely different industry. Everything I've shared with you tonight is in theory. In 2018, I was made redundant by the Australian Astronomical Observatory after 8.5 years with them. Now, here's the part that most people don't know. On the encouragement of a friend, I became a traveling chef for a direct selling company for high-tech cookware. So I went from leading a team of 4 senior managers and 25 engineers and scientists to cooking meals in people's homes and trying to sell cookware. I did this for about 7 to 9 months. It was humbling. No sale, no pay. I made a couple of sales. But most people were happy to get a free meal, but rarely purchased the cookware, as it was a large investment. But most importantly, my heart was not in it. Now remember, by that time, I had already worked about 20 years, pivoted 3 countries, 4 functions, and 8 industry sectors. Do you know what my problem was? I told myself I am over 50 and I shouldn't try. Big mistake. I created that psychological barrier. Remember that limiting beliefs I spoke about earlier in my program? Why the doubt? The formula worked before. Why shouldn't it work now? True enough, when I moved forward, as I've done so many times before, within a matter of a few months, I got a job. This time within the healthcare and community development sector. But guess what? As fate would have it, I was made redundant 3 years later for the second time in early 2025 due to financial pressures facing the sector. Once again, I used the same formula. I got a job with the company that I am with right now at the age of 60. I am now its chief risk officer, interfacing with the board of directors, which kind of explains why I had to disappear for a few hours yesterday. But I'm here to say to you that you can have your cake and eat it too. My framework is about navigation, but it says nothing about moving up to the top. And I have climbed just like anyone else. So the path is clear. I know my program works. And if you would like to join my program, I will be happy to lead you on a clear path to adaptability and resilience. Thanks for being here today. And again, if you're serious about your future-proofing your career in an AI-disrupted world, I would love to work with you. Thank you.
Yeah, Pascal, look at you go, right